Catherine. So let's take a look at this new set of essays. We've got the bar chart, car sales. So I took a quick look at this first sentence. There's some problems with the grammar. We do have to fix it. You wrote, bar chart shows how many automobile sales volume of Ford, Audi, and BMW in specific European nations. Okay, so it's just wrong all over the place. So I really just want to rewrite it if we can. Let's just make it something simple and clear, like the bar chart shows the automobile sales of Ford, Audi, and BMW in 9 specific European countries in 2018. I didn't change a lot, but I did clean it up and make it accurate. Overall, Hungary had the highest sales figures, S, whereas Belgium had, again because it's past tense, the least volume of sales. Now, this is a really interesting thing I want you to know about task 1. You can, in fact, refer to this in the present tense, even though it's in 2018. But if you do that, you have to be consistent throughout your answer. All right? You can't flip-flop between tenses. So if elsewhere you wrote had, then you're going to be in trouble. So the best thing to do is to be consistent. If it's all in the past, make sure it's all in the past. Okay? Let's see what you did, though. We can see that France, Germany, Ireland, and Hungary had remarkable numbers. Okay, had remarkable numbers in sales of BMW, accounting for approximately 120,000. We never put the S when there's a number at the beginning. Belgium had the lowest car sales figures. It should be figures with only 1/10 of the total. What does that mean, 1/10 of the total? Let me look at that. So you said that, I'm so confused. Let me look at that again. France, Germany, Ireland, and Hungary, 120,000. What does that mean of BMW? Okay, so you started just with BMW. Fine. Belgium had the lowest. Okay, fine, with only 1/10 of that. Not the total. You don't mean the total, because the total is actually considerably higher, because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 countries earning around 120,000. So if you wrote, this is just wrong. It's not 1/10 of the total. It's just like 1/10 of each country, or 1/10 of the aforementioned figure, something like that. But this is not correct to say of the total. The total is actually considerably higher than that. So you can see that I really struggled with it. I paused, I kind of halted. So it's not a clear answer. Okay, so let's move on. Looking at Audi, Hungary and Germany had a noticeable share of automobile sales at around 100,000 to get rid of the S. Next, France and Poland had nearly 3/4 of that figure. You don't mean in automobile sales. I think you mean just in Audi. When you say automobile sales, it looks like you're talking about the total. So please make this clear. The low point, no. The low point appeared in the UK and Belgium, which reported 20,000, get rid of the N, get rid of the S, and 10,000 respectively. All right, so basically you talked about the 2 high countries, you talked about the 2 middle countries, and then 2 low countries. So that's fine as far as Audi is concerned. Moving on to Ford, the largest car sales volume was in Hungary again, while the smallest point, this is awkward, this is really awkward, was reported in Italy at approximately 1/5 of Hungary's figure. That's one way you could have said this. Interestingly, Belgium had, why is that interesting that Belgium had a significant car sale? Why are we talking about this? Explain to me how it's significant when it's really not. I mean, if you look at, this is Ford, right? Okay, if you look at Ford, the Hungary number is interesting. The Holland number is that significant, but Belgium's number isn't really significant when you compare it to France, maybe even UK. They're all pretty similar. So I don't know why you decided to talk about this. I mean, maybe what you're trying to tell us is that Belgium had just under 100,000 car sales, but this was made up vastly by Ford sales. I mean, if you had said something like that, then it would have made sense. So let me tell you what the big problem, Catherine, is with this task 1. The first problem, as you can probably imagine, is the grammar. It's very confusing. It's not coherent in many places. A lot of wrong vocabulary, a lot of wrong grammar. It's just in general, the expression feels really unnatural and kind of problematic. It creates incoherence. Apart from that, though, there's another problem, which is because you've really neglected something really rather important. This is a stacked bar chart. So what does that mean? It means that, take for example Hungary, okay? So you've got the sales of BMW listed, you've got Audi, and of course you've got Ford. But why do you suppose that they've put them like this, like one on top of the other? The reason why they have done this is because what they're really focusing on here is those totals. So in other words, the 3 car sales together accounted for about 400,000 car sales in Hungary. Of those 400,000, an equal amount of Ford, Audi, and BMW were sold. Okay, so this is why we choose to use a stacked bar chart, because we want to know that in Belgium there were approximately 85,000 cars sold, but the vast majority of these cars were Ford and only a negligible amount were Audi and BMW. Okay, do you understand what you missed? You missed these totals, and those are really important. If they were not important, then it wouldn't have been a stacked bar chart. They would have had a chart that was different where, in other words, it would have been France, and then you would have seen 3 bars, like one for Ford, one for Audi, and next to that one for BMW, and so forth and so forth. Okay, so they're really concerned about this total figure. That's why it's like that. You missed that completely. So it should have been 1 paragraph for the totals, and then 1 paragraph where you really edit the information about the individual car companies in the different countries. Okay, so let's move on to your task 2. Okay, so let's move on to the essay about pollution. It's the problems and the solutions for these problems. Let's see what you said here. Let's see, why can't I see the bottom of this? There we go. All right, so recently the topic regarding major cities' pollutions become deteriorated has been widely discussed. In this essay, I will outline the causes of the pollutions and provide viable solutions. All right, so again, we've got some grammar slash lexical resource problems. Let's clean those up, okay? So recently, the topic regarding pollution in major cities has been widely discussed. Or you could have said, if you really want to use the word deteriorating, you could have said, recently the topic regarding the environment in major cities deteriorating has been widely discussed. And this essay will outline the causes. Okay, and the rest of it is fine. All right, so does that make sense? I hope so. Let's move on and see what you said. One of the major causes of is air pollution. All right, well, that's just a huge mistake here. One of the major causes of what? And it doesn't make sense to say that one of the major causes of air pollution is air pollution. So clearly there's something kind of strange happening here. We do have to fix it. I want to hold off on that sentence first to see how you develop your paragraph, because the way you actually developed your paragraph really sort of will tell us what that topic sentence needed to be. So let's look at it a little further, and then we'll clean up that first sentence. So cars burn fossil fuels in the city, which release carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Once the atmosphere is polluted by emissions, this will contribute to severe air problems, not only for human beings, but also our environment in the main cities. The atmosphere is polluted by emissions. Okay. Take London, for example. There are thousands of cars commuting during rush hour, singular. And you don't have any ands here. And it certainly creates toxic pollutants in the air and gas emissions in the city, which then lead to poor air quality and damage humans' health. Not humans, one human. S apostrophe. Another You don't mean damage. That's a wrong word. Another pollutant, how about that, is waste disposal. It results in hazardous risks in big cities because of the rubbish that we create on a daily basis. Okay, no, because the rubbish we create on a daily basis is not handled properly. Full stop. This then results in pollution in urban cities. Okay, so let's clean this up. Now that I've read the entire paragraph, what you're basically telling us is that there are two problems that cause pollution in cities. One of them is fossil fuels, and the other one is waste disposal. Okay? So, that said, we now have to rewrite this first sentence, and it should be there are a number of causes of rising pollution levels. Okay? Or you could have said there are two main causes of pollution in our cities. Okay, and then you could have said one cause is cars which burn fossil fuels in the city, releasing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay, and then you could have gone to all that detail. And then here you talk about waste disposal. I still felt like you needed to go a little more in detail about this because look at all this stuff you said about cars, and then you just left this little itty bitty part here to talk about waste disposal. You didn't tell us what those hazardous risks are. Okay, here's what you said. You said it's a damage, which was clearly a wrong word. You said it creates hazardous risks, and then you said it pollutes, but you didn't tell us how it pollutes or what those hazardous risks are. So you really need to go a little more into detail about this, okay? Alrighty, so in order to tackle the issues mentioned above, get rid of this and just say mentioned above, there are several approaches that we can take, not do. You don't do an approach, you take an approach to reduce air pollution and waste problems. Firstly, the governments can encourage citizens to take public transportation in terms of reducing gas emissions in the urban metropolises, plural. All right, how does that solve our problem? It's not enough to just give a solution, but you actually have to explain how that solution is a problem. Otherwise, it just feels like a bulleted list, okay? And that's one of the problems that a lot of students have when they're writing a problems and solution essay. They neglect actually telling us how their solution is a solution. Okay. Secondly, educational institutions can educate students on the importance of recycling garbage. Get rid of that. All right, again, how is that a solution, Catherine? Thirdly, the authorities could legislate strictly. No, you don't. Well, maybe. Strict regulations regarding smoke emissions and garbage recycling. I believe once those measures operate properly, these damages. No, it's the wrong word. These pollutants. That would have been a good word. Can be solved efficiently in the metropolises. So you did this for each of your, it basically was a bulleted list. It's not a paragraph. It's not a well-developed paragraph. It needs to be developed and illustrated where you explain how you think that your solutions will solve the problem, okay? To conclude, air pollution and waste are two main problems in big cities. The government, schools, and residents should practice the methods and work together. As a result, these problems can be tackled in the future. All right, that's okay. It's fine. I think you get my general overall points. You have to be careful with some of the language you use. You have to be careful that you absolutely develop and support any single point, any sort of assertion that you make. You have to support these things. You have to develop them. Okay? So go ahead and correct these and let's see some more work from you. I'll be waiting. Good luck.